The alpha widow is a concept of the woman who has what she perceives is an alpha male at one point in time, and then because of meeting that guy, or having sex with that guy, or having a relationship with that guy, or an emotional connection with that guy, a spiritual connection with that guy, any sort of interaction with that guy, she perceives as an alpha. Every guy after that is now lesser by comparison. So she becomes an alpha widow, and so she's the widow that had the alpha, lost the alpha, could have had the alpha, and so now she has to settle for what she perceives is the betas the rest of her life. And so that's why you see in younger women, there's oftentimes this glow, this innocence, this like fresh, youthful energy and this presence. And the older women get, especially with the promotion of feminism in modern society, you see that glow that's lost, and there's more depression, and you can see it in women over time. And so the concept of the alpha widow, it doesn't even have to just be sex. It can be an ideal as well. It can be the concept of like the girl who's in her early 20s, and she's just in this phase of going to bars and clubs and going out partying. And so she meets a guy that she finds attractive in a certain way. Maybe he's just very serious on his business. He's also in his early 20s, his career. And but he's not like out partying. He's not at the bars and the clubs. But so she just kind of overlooks him. And she goes out with like the bar crowd, the clubbing crowd. But then at some point, she realizes that that crowd just kind of sits in a stagnant state and they don't go anywhere. And she's in her mid to late 20s, and now the guy that was in his early 20s, that business he was starting, instead of going to the bar and club, he's very successful now. And so now she's like the alpha widow. You know, she didn't even have to have sex with that guy. It could be the ideal of that guy, or the guy that she overlooked that became something, or whatever. But so the alpha widow can be a couple different scenarios. It could be the guy that she has sex with, and then every guy after that, maybe she feels that the sex with a certain guy was very alpha or very energizing, or it gets her off, or she orgasms the most from that particular guy. And so every other guy after that is lesser by comparison, or beta by comparison. So from experiencing the alpha from her perspective, every other guy becomes beta, and so now she's this alpha widow, searching for what she could have had or what she overlooked, depending on how that played out. So it can be a physical relationship. So she feels the guy is alpha in a physical sense, like whether the sex was better in her mind with a particular guy. It can be mental. The guy gets her mentally stimulated. The guy is intelligent, and that turns her on in a certain way. He has money. It could be some sort of spiritual connection that the guy gets her in a way that other guys don't get her. It could just be that she could have had the 6'5" guy, and that she was, attracted to at one point, but things fell apart for whatever reason, or things didn't happen, and so now she's with the 5'5" guy in her 30s or something, like looking at her second options or fallback plans. And so like the alpha widow, it's complicated in that sense, because the alpha widow is just, it can be any age, any time, for any reason by comparison. It's not always just sex, like I've just gone over. It's alpha in any sense of how she views alpha. It could be the girl in middle school that's watching a movie, right? And so she sees like some Hollywood movie, like some girl in like 5th or 6th grade or something. And so she thinks a certain actor is really attractive, like Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling, Channing Tatum. She like watches a movie and thinks a certain actor is very attractive. And so based on who he is in that movie, the character, who he is in real life, his physical appearance, just who he is as a human being, maybe she watches an interview, she realizes, he has money, he's famous, traveling the world, all of this. And so that's this concept in her mind of this alpha. So then her being some middle school girl, 5th and 6th grade, like no kid her own age, 5th or 6th grade, he's not like alpha compared to that, right? So she's like this alpha widow of like could have had the alpha, but like can't get the alpha, didn't get the alpha, won't get the alpha, but now she's forced to settle for the betas, right? So that's how she's viewing it. And let me try to adjust my phone here. It's a super windy day here in San Diego, but yeah. So like the alpha widow, it doesn't even have to be a sexual relationship. It can be an ideal, it can be mental, it can be psychological, emotional, spiritual, just however she's viewing alpha in her mind, right? Even just walking down the street, I could be walking down the street right now, and I can meet a woman of any age, and I'm doing well in life right now for how I view my own success and just well-being, and so I'm content with things. So I'm just kind of in a good mood with my energy going around, walking around in the city. Maybe there's a woman that I meet right now today on the street, and she's in a bad mood for whatever reason. Maybe going through a bad time in life, or a bad relationship currently, or just a culmination of things over her life, to where she's just just reflecting on things, and she's just in that certain spot of her life. And so maybe she's had a situation with men in her life where she feels very disappointed, and she doesn't feel that positive energy in whatever way. I could just be walking down the street, I'm in a good mood, and I mean, I just say like, hey, like good afternoon or good morning, whatever time of the day I meet her, and just me being like a positive presence, something that she might not experience, just like meeting for the first time, us passing each other by, meeting for the first time, that like positive spark that she doesn't get elsewhere in her own perspective. Now suddenly that's the concept of the alpha widow. Like I could have had that guy who actually showed me some love or some positivity or some forward progression or some advancement in whatever way. So this alpha widow concept, it takes the form in many ways. Yes, it can be sexual. It can be she had the greatest sex with her life with a certain guy, so every guy after that is just beta or just not that guy for whatever reason. And it's not just like a purely physical, oh, he was like 6'10" and like a bodybuilder, so everybody else is just lesser than that. It could be it could be whatever. She could have like a different physical connection with a guy that isn't perceived as that. Like just because you're 6'10" and a bodybuilder does not mean you're just 100% alpha in every circumstance to every person by their perspective. So there's stuff going on physically and mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. There's a culmination of things that lead to someone's current place in their life, their conditioning from a certain time period in their past, life experiences that they've had that alter their views on things. So this alpha widow concept basically is like the older a woman gets, she's going to have more life experiences. So yeah, she can mature and she can get smarter, but the more sexual partner she has, and even just the more guys she has available just on a whim, like in the social media era, like I said, with like the girl that watches a movie, it just goes online and like, oh, like I can see in 2 seconds this guy makes millions, this guy's in this Hollywood movie, this guy's this athlete, this guy's this he has this many followers on his social media. And so she has all these options which play into her open hypergamy, which is just there anyways, just naturally. And so that alpha widow concept is huge because she's always like the alpha widow in some context. So the older she gets, without having a kid or without having that long-term commitment from some guy, she's constantly experiencing these events of being the alpha widow. It's not always just a guy that she had sex with, and every guy after that is lesser than that in the bedroom. It could be a guy that she didn't have sex with, and she realizes later, maybe she should have had sex with that guy. Maybe that should be the guy that she should be with. You know, it could be stuff that did happen, stuff that didn't happen. Just like going over the scenarios of like what could be, what could have been. There's a lot going on with it. So the alpha widow concept, when we're in the United States and legal age of consent in my home state, California, is 18. I know some states around the country is 16 and 17, but the older a woman gets and the more she's exposed to different options and just different world truths and just her growing up and having different life experiences, she's going to have more of those events of the alpha widow. And that alpha widow concept is going to affect her emotionally because the woman bears the child and she's only getting pregnant once at a time. The woman is generally going to be more selective than a man would be, where a man just kind of like can spread his DNA very quickly in a short period of time. The woman bears the child for 9 months. There's a stronger bond with that. So the woman is more affected by this concept of what she could have had, what she could have been, options she could have pursued. So sometimes it is the physical. She had sex with someone and then it was great, and every guy after that is not as great, so she's an alpha widow to that. A guy stimulated her mentally, and other guys aren't able to do that, so she's an alpha widow from that. A guy was able to stimulate her psychologically, other guys can't do that, and now she's an alpha widow from that. She connects with the guy spiritually in some way, and other guys are just not on that spiritual frequency, and so she's an alpha widow from that. A guy makes a certain amount of money, and that was a lifestyle she was living, and now she's with this guy making less money and her lifestyle went down. Alpha widow from that. So there's a lot of different things that could be this alpha widow concept. So just understand where a woman is at her certain point in life, like what phase she's at.